number 1, use a film leader retriever. These fiddly and frustrating contraptions are actually incredibly good for preserving the film cartridge so it can be reused. If you also leave a little flappy bit of film at the end when you snip off your film, you can use it for bulk loading film, or you can use it as the take-up spool on a 35mm film when it goes to a 120 camera. Most of these can be reused because I have left the flappy bit of film. Tip number 2, bulk load your film. So just think about it. If you're using a bulk load of film, you're buying about, I think, 30 meters in a roll. That's one lot of packaging for the equivalent of, I don't even know how many rolls individually wrapped. You're also cutting down on the transportation carbon footprint. So the amount of space that it would take to transport 30 meters worth of film individually packaged like this is going to be far greater than if you buy a bulk roll and load your own canisters, which you already have lying around at home. Look, this is and this is only the selection of used film canisters and things that I have since starting to home develop my own film. So tip number 3, save up your film until you have enough rolls to use one full batch of developer to exhaustion. This will prevent you from throwing away developer before it's been completely exhausted, simply because it's gone out of date or run out of its shelf life. Tip number 4, use a stop bath. Now this one might surprise some of you that would think that water alone would be the most environmentally friendly option, but in actual fact, using a stop bath has 3 advantages that I can think of right now. Number 1, you are only using one lot of water for, say, 15 rolls of film being developed rather than fresh water each time, because if you're just using water, you do need to refresh that every time. Number 2, you are preserving your fixer. The stop bath will help prevent silver from being carried over into the fixer, and from the research done, the silver in the fixer is the most problematic part of the whole process of developing black and white film. And finally, if you use one with a pH indicator such as this Ilfostop, which I use, you can most likely eke out more develops per batch than you could using a homemade alternative. And finally, tip number 5, master your skill. This will help you cut down on the wasted film. If you were just to go out and use the trial and error method, you'd probably end up with quite a few wasted shots, wasted rolls. Let me just caveat this by saying I am not suggesting that you leave your cameras to one side until you have read books on the subject. But what I am suggesting is that you complement your practice by reading up on things like how your camera works, lens choices, darkroom techniques, composition skills. I'd really love to hear your recommendations. If you have any, please leave them in the comments. If you're not the sort of person who learns best through reading books, you could use podcasts, you could use YouTube channels. Some of my favourites are the Create.photography podcast from Daniel Sig. He goes into more of the creative process. There's a Shoot Film Like a Boss on YouTube. He is really educational in the darkroom techniques area. And then I also suggest checking out Analog Wonderland. They do some amazing reviews of different film stocks, which I find really helpful. So there we have just 5 tips to help you reduce your waste, which I hope are actually relatively easy ones. I may do another one of these if you like it. Please leave your top tips for reducing waste in your film photography in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. So thank you to today's funny film photographer, Luke Farmer, who shared this cheeky bottom with us on the hashtag. Go and check out his Instagram account, and also, if you haven't already, Front Photography, of which he is a part. Keep sharing your funny film photographs using the hashtag funnyfilmphotography.